Right, welcome to another hashtag 530 Live. There's Mr. Simon Cox from Poppy Design Studio and myself from New Way Growth, and we are talking CRMs, customer relationship management. And what sparked this off is a couple of conversations that I've had this week that cropped up in conversations around CRMs. And for me, it is one of the base, fundamental, foundational elements of a business when you first start up. Whether you have an Excel spreadsheet, whether you have a off the shelf, whether you have a free, whether you buy it, you must have a way of collecting your customer details and contact information because it is just so beneficial for you. And we're going to go through some of that. But what are your thoughts as well? Because I think you're similar to me on this one, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like the heartbeat of a business, isn't it? Without the database, you wouldn't have a business. Half these businesses, I don't know how they survive
Oh
without
yeah,
one. To be honest with you.
yeah. It is. I mean, it is. It is. It's a massive asset, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just the thing for me is if you're reliant upon, like we know a few cases, don't know, that have happened recently, is that Facebook can generate a lot of business. LinkedIn can generate a lot of business, but you do not own that data. So you've got to have a way of, under GDPR rules and that side, of taking that data away from Facebook and putting it into your own CRM. Because when things go wrong, and they do go wrong, like profiles being hacked, you've lost a lot.
Mm.
And I think that's, some of the key things for me is you've got to ensure you've got that data and a good backup of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, data is so critical. I mean, yes, I'm a bit of a data nerd when it comes to data. I love it, and sometimes I go overboard with it. But the thing is, what it can give us is incredible information. And the CRM. I tell you what I noticed when COVID first kicked in last year, the amount of companies you could tell that had a CRM because they responded quickly and they were able to respond quickly as well. And we've got a great CRM system here, and absolutely, straight on the nail. We were able to contact people and obviously have the information up to date, and it's valuable. The amount of people that don't have one, I'm surprised at.
Yeah, because the thing for me is it's okay. You've held the data there, and you've got data, so you've got contact information and that side, but it also enables you to look at what the people or what your customers and your prospects are actually looking at, what services, products they're looking at, how warm or cold they are to those products or services. You can also segment against those products and services. You can get customer feedback against those products and services. And it allows you to quantify and follow up the contacts around that as well. So you're increasing your sales potentially on a big scale. So again, it gives you it prioritizes your sales activities as well. So I've never got why businesses don't have a CRM system. I mean LinkedIn. I look at LinkedIn. Sales Navigator is a CRM system. It's nothing more. It gives you some added advantages, but I can still use the basic as what the Sales Navigator gives you, other than the fact that it is a CRM system.
Mm.
I mean, the other side of it as well is you can have the automation. You can start because there's the data, but then you can start looking at workflows. And I don't know whether you do this. I certainly do this. Is my hubs I have HubSpot, and I use HubSpot free. To allow, so I can experiment with different ones, so I can advise with startups and smaller businesses on which one's best for the individual. So Mailchimp, CRM, Zoho, or however. Because I think yours Zoho, is it Zoho? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing with HubSpot is that you can do some of the automations. The same with Zoho is that you can have your calendar link onto your website. So if somebody goes in there and arranges a meeting with you, it drops straight into the HubSpot database, your CRM database. You ain't got to worry about it. Your chat on there on the website again. If somebody comes in and asks a question on the chat, the details there drop straight into HubSpot. So there are loads and loads of advantages from it. again, automation in emailing and email marketing and keeping in touch with your business. And like you said, in COVID, what a fantastic way of keeping customer satisfaction, keeping customer experience at the top level, because you've got the detail to go back and keep in touch with your existing customers. And you never know, you could get additional sales out of it in a hard time.
Yeah, absolutely. And COVID obviously exposed, I think, as I said earlier, exposed a few that didn't have the CRM. But also how quickly that businesses could respond. So a simple thing just to say, oh yeah, we're still here. How quickly could they get their message out there? And without the CRM, many couldn't really move. One thing I've noticed in the past, in having used CRM as well, is that it is a great tool for teams. So, and I'm not talking Microsoft Teams, I'm talking about teams of people. So if you're managing a team of people that has to have regular contact with the clients, I can sit back and just look at my laptop and go, right, okay, well, they've done this and they've done that. And the data goes in, but also you can get some great feedback as well from obviously the data going in there. So if people are regularly working through the data and phoning up a client, oh, how's the product, how's the service, how's things, put it in the CRM, and then that data can then obviously give a far greater image than not having the data in there in the first place. So
yeah, it is, as you say, for exactly that. That is why, for me, it is one of the most powerful tools and assets in the business. Is because, as you say, if you're working with a team, even on your own, is that a lot of them integrate into your email system. So when you email, it automatically drops that communication into your CRM system. So when you go to click it, you can see all your email comms, tasks and different activities that have happened in there. It's just a absolute knowledge font of Oracle knowledge that you want when dealing with sales and marketing.
But also, if you're, take COVID as an example. So, if I was managing a sales team now, remotely, you've got no control over what people are actually doing. But if they're actually putting the data in the CRM, you can probably even keep pressing F5 on your laptop and away you go. You've got real-time information of what's being updated. And I think that's the beautiful thing with the CRMs, about to track the data, looking at where the lead source comes in. Provided the data goes in there and all the fields are set up, the information that can come out is phenomenal. It really is. And it's just down to people really to utilize it. And a couple of years ago I used to have a CRM just for networking. So I go to a network meeting, meet someone, actually track where I actually met that person in case I needed to call on their service or need people that needed to know them. But I sort of dropped it. I'm thinking there's a lot of work going in here, and I just thought it's not really a good asset.
But actually,
It's not really
that,
a
as you
valuable
say
sum.
though, that's not a bad idea though, is it? Is that I've not known of anybody that's done that before, but in taking that side is, when I look at this, and again thinking on the hop there, that is, you go into a networking, doesn't necessarily need to. Well, you could have a CRM Excel spreadsheet that just allows you to say, and I met this person at this network and they deal with this, but it allows you, if you ever come across somebody that is looking for something that is outside of your area, to go back to that CRM, put in a find in the Excel spreadsheet and go, bang, have I got anybody here? Yeah, this contact, right here, there you go. And how valuable is that for you in building that relationship and sort of like reciprocity, is it, with that person that you've given the contact to, as well as the networking contact themselves as well. So it's a win-win on that side. So that's not a bad idea, Simon. I don't think that one.
It's massive. I mean, the reason I stopped it as well, because I felt that there's a lot of data going into a CRM system here of saying, this is where I met that person. Okay, so in talking to that person 3 or 4 years down the line, I could turn around and say, oh, I remember meeting you at this meeting. They're like, how do you remember? And I'm thinking, well, actually, I've got it on my CRM here, but you don't want to do that, because then they sort of think, well, what else are you doing with my data? And we're selling it on. Well, we're not. It's a case of just being organised our end. But now what I do look for is, obviously I've got information like that, and if somebody says to me about, do you know someone that does this? I just get hold of the network leader, the leader of that group, because they're the ones that can be most up to date and in the know of what's going on locally or something. So I tend not to. Well, I don't have that database anymore, but that's what I was using the CRM for.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
interesting.
I suppose in a way you could most people are on LinkedIn, so you could get straight onto LinkedIn, put a search function into LinkedIn, and pick up the your first connections and do it that way as well. Because again, as I said, LinkedIn is a sort of CRM connection database. It's not a CV system, as most people deem it. I mean, the thing for me as well is that the CRM database is a scalable side. It is increased sales, and what you're after really is keep building that database and keep building that contact list. And then being able to communicate with them increases sales. And there's no two ways about it. That is one of the fundamental benefits. I'm not over sure how many people actually do that. I don't think it's that. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong in this. I think probably more service-led businesses do that than more product-led businesses. But I may be completely wrong in saying that. That's a big assumption and a big impression just on that, because what I see is most. Might be a piss poor example here. Is I see like people like training providers will mail shot out around different training, so they're constantly communicating around new training that's coming on board, or there's new seminars, new webinar, new training, new online training. But product doesn't generally change that much. And what we tend to find is they've bought a product, and unless that product is uplifted, enhanced, we don't go back. But again, there is that opportunity to do that. It is, and an upsell. Big assumption there, but I don't know. I've thought more. I've seemed to see more come from a service provider, but it might be where I'm subscribed to.
It's interesting you say this. So, I spent 9 years in the embroidery industry. So, embroidering garments with logos. Now, this is the anal view I have of CRM systems on this. And anal, I mean, in a positive way, not a negative way. So, obviously, you meet people at a network meeting, or they phone you or whatever, you track the lead source, put them in the database. They then turn around and start talking to you because they know what you do and they've got an interest in you. What I then did was then look at, from there, I then looked at, if we went ahead and did an order, I would track the product code, obviously, of the garment they bought, but also because of the embroidery and the detail that is needed with the number of threads that go into a logo, I would track the needle, not the needle, the thread code as well. So what it would then allow me to do is know how many reels I'd need to buy of cotton to be able to actually apply from the CRM system to be able to buy from suppliers, because all the data we had in setting up logos, we put it into the CRM, and then we could actually say, right, okay, well, this person is buying this amount of product from us, and this is what we're going to need to be able to supply that product, that person on an annual basis. So I use the CRM for that system, that route as well. Just to basically collate the data, but also then add it all up. And it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely, because that helps again with cash flow, stock levels, inventory levels, and controlling that as well. When you might need to buy it. And again, thinking around that is you could get into the details around. Let's say it's a car. Let's say it's a shirt. A shirt with embroidered with so many washes is only going to last for so long. So you can put into your CRM database that you've got this customer's had this batch of clothing at this particular point. We know that there's a life cycle on this product of around about 12 months, 18 months, or whatever you want to do. Let's put in a task to recontact them back to make sure that we're there at hand again. That's your CRM database benefit again of your CRM database. It's allowing that follow-up. Because I think it's notoriously known that when we follow up with sales, we increase our sales and revenue. When we don't follow up, we don't. So I think that there's a whole host segmentation of products and services, and allowing you to look at what your best products are that are selling, your best services that are selling. What else could you do? Cross-selling, upselling. all manner of stuff. So
I
yes,
tell you the other thing as well we used to do as well, and this comes from my time in the supply chain. So I used to work in a third party company that used to package for some of the big names, the big supply DIY industry sector, and we used to put the data in our CRM system of what people were buying, what they were ordering, but then from there we produced some bespoke reports, literally onto the printer, so that the client they had a bespoke label going out to them, and it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The data we put in, how we then got some. I think we used Crystal reporting at the time, and we're also using ODBC as well. I don't know if you come across that, open database connectivities. But basically, we exported live data from the CRM into Excel and produced our own version of like a packing label. So when it got to the client would go, "Oh my god, it's got a logo on." These guys really think about us, and it wasn't that we thought about. Well, we did think about the client, but it was just how we sort of got the key information to the right people, and of course from them we could then add in the barcodes, the EAN numbers, and things like that.
yeah,
So we used to basically just take the data from the CRM, produce our own reports, and then a pallet of products would go out the warehouse with a bespoke label on, which would be a A4 paper just masking taped onto the side of the pallet. But it worked, and
yeah.
the client thought we were amazing.
And absolutely, and it's that again. It's that for me is that differentiator is that customer experience, that customer service level. And if you and you know the more you do in making that person feel special around it, it's an absolute winner. Then customers are not going to go anywhere else because of that extra detail, that you're applying in. And that all comes from the CRM database and what you're loading in with it.
Yeah,
For me, is I'd load it in with all manner of data. I'd rather have too much data than not enough, because then you can just delete what you don't want as and when you're doing your reports and things like that.
yeah.
You can get into segmentation, slicing data, all manner of stuff. But for me, I wrote down here as I was doing it is, improve customer service, improve customer satisfaction, improve customer retention, increase sales, generates new business, gives you market intelligence. You can track activities. There's a whole host of different stuff within it that within the CRM.
But also location of clients as well. And this was a really interesting thing I did a couple of years ago. Was from the CRM. Obviously, I got the data export and put it into Power BI, and from there, the Power BI would then look at the postcode of where the client was, from obviously the address record, and give me a Google map of like a heat map of
Heat
where
map,
all
yeah,
where all the customers were.
yeah,
And you're looking at it and going, across the southeast of England, I've got all these clients. So when I'm driving to there, I can now don't get me wrong, you know your clients, you know who you've sold to and who's bought from you, but you can obviously forget sometimes about where
yeah.
people are actually located, and you sort of think, okay, I've got to go to London. Pass through Watford on the way, drop in and see the client at the same time. So yeah, massive potential with CRM,
Yeah.
and what you can do is what you do with the data. I think that's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is what you do with the data, but above all else is make sure you've got a bloody CRM in the first place. Because as I say, we've had it, haven't we? Where we've had conversations with people that have been in our network in that they've been hacked and they've lost a lot of data and a lot of custom. And that's not funny when you're on the back end of that at all. Because
No,
that's
I mean,
massive.
any successful business, in my view, should be in control of their data and
Yeah.
in control of what they've got. So if you put in what is critical to a business into a database, then obviously make sure that you've got access to it, and you've got access to that information at all times as much as possible. Because if not, it's a big investment in time and money, and it's also an asset to the business. And of course, then boom, you haven't got that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think we've probably done it to death. It's just come up that my internet connection is unstable, so I've probably frozen somewhere. So apologies for that. But yeah, I don't think we missed anything. But I think both me and Simon are saying the same here. Make sure you've got a CRM and make sure you've got your data and you own it.